Well, hello there. How are you going today? Hope everything is fantastic in your world. Thanks for joining me, and it's time to take another walk down the path we call the strange realm. And of course, don't believe anything I say. This is all for entertainment purposes only. Don't believe anything you hear in the videos. This is all about being autodidactic, right? Self-educated, coming to your own conclusions.
The world was warned this could happen, and now it actually is. The Philippines just became the first country in the entire world to declare a state of emergency because of fuel shortages linked to the war in the Middle East. This is because a staggering 98% of the fuel that the Philippines imports needs to pass through the Gulf region. And it's not just them. The whole world is now facing its biggest restrictions on fuel since COVID. Slovenia just became the first EU state to begin fuel rationing, so you can now only buy 50 liters max of fuel per day. Meanwhile, the IEA has now advised their 32 member countries, which include the likes of Australia, Germany, Japan, France, and the UK, to implement various fuel-saving measures, including even lowering their highway speeds by 10 kilometers an hour. China have temporarily banned fuel exports to protect their domestic supplies. Australia are facing what's described as a national crisis, where hundreds of their petrol stations are running dry from panic buying and shortages. South Korea have begun considering work-from-home policies and have also introduced price limits for fuel for the first time in decades, along with other countries like Croatia, Hungary, Brazil, and Thailand. Cuba are really struggling this week with numerous countrywide power cuts only made worse by the fuel shortages. Japan will begin their biggest ever release of oil from their strategic reserves this week. And as for the United States, well, Trump was asked about the Strait of Hormuz, and he said this.
We don't need it. We have a lot of oil. We're the #1 producer anywhere in the world times two.
Yes, the energy crisis. And yes, it's fast looking like this is the reason for the war in the Middle East at the moment, is so that they can put up energy prices. They can say there's not enough energy to power the world and basically restrict us, right? Restrict our movements, limit the amount of petrol or gas, that we're allowed to get. Are they going to be rolling blackouts? Who knows, right? But this is clearly what it's all about. But the thing is, with this strait in the Middle East that all the, news is about, and they can't get oil through, only 20 to 25% of the world's oil goes through there. So yes, it might affect some countries, but it shouldn't be affecting the whole world, right? There's another 75%. And as we heard the Don say there, the US is actually the world's largest oil producer. And, Australia, where I'm from, we're the biggest coal producer and natural gas. But, we're getting restrictions too, when we should have enough resources for the whole country, right? But of course, we're run by the Lites, right? The foot soldiers of the invaders.
A new global lockdown is coming, and it's getting serious. This time the crisis is not about health, it's about energy. Governments around the world are already starting to ration fuel, restrict travel, and prepare for shortages that could hit entire economies. Some countries are limiting how much gas people can buy. Others are grounding flights because fuel supplies are becoming harder to secure. Slovenia has already moved first in Europe by introducing fuel rationing. South Korea is rolling out QR systems at gas pumps to control how much each person can purchase. And in parts of Asia, including the Philippines, officials have even discussed grounding flights due to fuel pressure. Airlines are reacting too. American Airlines has already cut flights by around 5% to manage rising costs. Governments are quietly encouraging work-from-home policies again, not because of a virus, but to reduce energy demand. Even the International Energy Agency is pushing for limits on non-essential travel. Now, think about this carefully. In 2020, the world was told lockdowns would be temporary. Weeks turned into years. Today, the trigger may not be a health emergency, but peak energy, and the economic impact could be just as powerful. The next phase of the global system is being shaped by what many call the power triad: compute, data, and energy. Energy is the base layer. Without energy, factories slow down, supply chains break, and markets become unstable. Compute and data control artificial intelligence, defense systems, and digital economies. When all three shift at the same time, the entire financial world can reset. If energy pressure continues and geopolitical tensions stay high, this could ripple through boost supply chains, stock markets, and global stability. That is why this moment matters more than most people realize. Certain sectors could benefit if this transition accelerates. Energy giants like ExxonMobil and Chevron tend to gain influence when fuel becomes scarce. AI-driven technology companies like Nvidia, Microsoft, and Alphabet are deeply tied to the compute and data side of the triad. Defense and intelligence firms such as Lockheed Martin and Palantir often see increased attention when global tensions rise. This is not just another crisis cycle. It could reshape how money moves in the stock market. Energy, tech, and transport stocks may react very differently. Nearly 80% of investors realize it only after markets begin moving.
Yeah, they're pushing it. They're pushing it, right? I don't know if you're old enough, but remember in the 1970s, I don't really remember it, but the oil crisis back then, and they literally were saying the world's running out of oil 50 years ago, and they used that to, pump up the prices, to change the cars as well, right? Because that's kind of the mid 70s is when the smaller cars started coming in, the hatchbacks, a lot more four cylinders, and it was, a move away from the big cars of the 60s, right, and 50s that were amazing, right, and creative, and they had big V8s and big sixes in them, and so that's sort of when this whole started, right? But of course, it was completely fake, right? It was fake, and they're doing the same thing again, and this time they're trying to push us from petrol cars to electric cars. But my biggest question, or I guess the biggest thing I would point to as this being completely manufactured and false, we're not running out. Like, all this stuff is created. It's created scarcity. But at the same time, when the world doesn't have enough energy to run its cities and cars and all this stuff and restrictions, what are they doing? They are building these massive AI data centers all over the world. And these data centers need a lot of energy. And there was, conversations about this before the whole war started, that even then, with all the energy that we had, the 100%, I guess, of the world's produced energy, it was still going to be a problem running these AI centers. But they're still, and they must have known this, which just tells us that it's all crap. It's all a lie. There's abundant energy everywhere. And as we know from Tartaria and the old world, there's free ether energy. Like, we shouldn't have to be paying for energy anywhere, right? Non-polluting free energy, and also fuel sources, right? Like hydrogen, right? The water cars, all this stuff. So what we should be looking at, with all this information, apart from getting, besides getting scared, is to get prepared, right? Be prepared, not scared. This is an opportunity for us to build these new things, to get new fuel sources that don't rely on the system, and that are non-polluting, and that are very cheap or free. So, yeah, I think this is an opportunity for us to disengage with the system even more.
AI might be making your life easier, but in some cases even dumber, depending how you're using AI, but it also could be potentially raising your energy bills. So here is an interesting article by consumerreports.org by Nicole Greenfield talking about the data centers that are just being built across the United States that are just using massive amounts of energy, specifically since the birth of AI with ChatGPT in 2022. One single data center can use as much electricity as 100,000 homes. And it doesn't stop there. It's not just electricity, it's water. So AI is just not living in your phone. It actually might be affecting your home energy bill as well. So what are your thoughts? Are you concerned about the AI usage and the data centers being built around the country?
Well, are you? Leave me a comment. Are you worried? Are you near one of these AI data centers? But, that was just to kind of prove my point, that they take, one center and not as much as 100,000 houses. I mean, that's crazy, right? So they're building these knowing full well how much energy is produced, which, again, right, it's just proof it's all a lie. And the good news is we already have all the answers, right? We've just got to now put them into a form that we can use and is accessible to everyone, like free energy.
Hi, my name is Grant, and this is a 1998 Ford Explorer Sport. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ford's Explorer line, but they have a reputation of being horrible gas guzzlers, and I can actually attest to that. I did the mileage tests on my truck and found out that I was getting 13.6 miles per gallon highway, which as far as I'm concerned is absolutely unacceptable. Last year alone, I spent $11.4 bajillion on gasoline. Okay, I made that number up, but it sure felt like it. Well, I did something about it, and now I'm getting 56% better gas mileage, which translates to 56% savings in my pocket at the gas pump. How did I do it? My truck is now a water hybrid. Check this out. Well, technically, it's a hydrogen on demand hybrid. What we have here is distilled water with 1 teaspoon of baking soda used as a catalyst. We tickle that water with 12 volts of electricity, and what it does is it separates the hydrogen from the oxygen. That gas is then sent into the combustion chamber, where I was formerly getting a 30% burn. That's right, in all of your gas vehicles, you only get a 30% fuel burn, which translates to 70% of your fuel, of your gas, comes out of your tailpipe. Now, however, I'm getting a 100% burn in my combustion chamber, which means a few benefits. Number one, after a couple hours of running hydrogen, it had blown years of deposits out of my engine. My engine actually idles so quietly in city traffic I can't even hear it. My torque increased, my horsepower increased significantly, and like I said, right now I'm getting 56% better gas mileage highway, and I'm getting 35% better gas mileage city. Safety. Of course, that's a huge concern here. We're talking about hydrogen. Look out, it's gonna blow! Just kidding. Actually, it can't blow. Remember, you're not storing hydrogen. This is hydrogen on demand. Since it's hydrogen on demand, there's never enough hydrogen in the line at any given time to cause an explosion or a fire in the case of an accident. If you do happen to get in a car accident, you've got water and broken glass, and that's it. This is a 100% safe system. Now, after about 3,000 miles, your water's gonna end up looking like this. It gets dirty, and this is what's referred to as blooms. It's a byproduct of the distilled water, the baking soda catalyst, and the electricity running through the system. Now, the important thing is this water is not toxic to you or the environment, so you can literally pour it anywhere and you're not going to be doing any damage to the environment. Distilled water, which you can make, you don't necessarily have to buy it. I just bought it for ease. This is your baking soda catalyst. You're going to use 1 teaspoon per jar of distilled water. After the conversion, my emissions went down to almost 0. However, I'm completely offsetting those negligible emissions because now my tailpipe is pumping all kinds of oxygen back out into the atmosphere. The great thing about howtosavefuel.com is the fact that Alex Rivera installs this in your car with a team of certified mechanics, so you don't have to worry about it. And they guarantee their work, so if anything ever goes wrong with the system, they're gonna fix it. And if I ever want to go back to 100% gas and not use the hydrogen system, all I have to do is very simply pull the fuse.
Howtosavefuel.com. There you go. Hydrogen for your cars. This is a solution. This is a way that we can double our fuel, our mileage. And then suddenly the petrol crisis doesn't exist for you, right? So there you go. There's one solution. Let me know. Have you got one of these? Have you seen one of these working? Yeah, let us know in the comments. I'd be interested to hear, but I'm definitely going to do it. Very simple technology. You can do it yourself, and there are people around like that website that will help you if you need the help. I mean, I'm sure you can even just find videos on YouTube, right, that show you how to do it. But this is one solution. So this is what I'm saying is all of this energy stuff, all this war, all this fear porn they're throwing at us, it's giving us a chance to find solutions and implement them that will ultimately make the world a much better place for us.
Why do we see no wires on the pylons of the old world? Today our streets are filled with these pylons with wires, but the ancients seem to have no wires. In fact, they were harnessing free energy. Have you ever noticed the metal balls which are on all of the ancient buildings? You probably still have them now. These metal balls were filled with mercury, and on top of them was an antenna which was harnessing the electromagnetic energy. This energy was then sent to the mercury, and watch what happens with mercury. This would cause the mercury to spin and create free energy. The word cathedral comes from cathedral, anode and the cathode, because it's creating electricity. All of these buildings around the world all had the same antennas. This is because it was the great Tartarian Empire. Take a look for yourself.
The energy of the old world, free ether energy, and this stuff is everywhere. And yet the balls, as far as we know, they're filled with mercury. What I know about mercury is that it works as an amplifier as well. So it definitely does spin, and it has levitation properties, right? It can make things levitate. I won't say anti-grav because I don't really believe in gravity, but yeah, it's all out there, and we can see that you know, the old world had free energy, and it was for the people and to enhance our experience, not to entrap us, right, and turn us into slaves like the current system is doing. But this is something else that we can work on, right? We just need to get working models of how this works, and then we've got free energy. We don't need them anymore.
There used to be a substance on the periodic table that could power the world without wires, without fuel, and without pollution. And it's called ether. Ether was removed off the periodic table, but the ancient builders of Tartaria and before knew how to harness it to build things, and you can harness it today. Ether was believed to be the invisible energy in the air, and mainstream scientists accepted it and used it to explain how light traveled. Up until the 1800s, after the Michelson-Morley experiment, they claimed that they couldn't detect it. But the reason why I believe they took it away is because ether is extremely valuable and allows you to have free energy. Physical phenomena that depends on ether are cymatics, like right here, electrostatics, magnetism, and electricity. Ether is a substance that God created. Check this out. So what do you guys think so far? Why do you think the mainstream doesn't use ether for everything? And it turns out that zero-point energy devices like magnetic vortex engines and free energy coils harness ether. And this right here is a guy creating a light with just coils and magnets. He harnesses the ether to light a light bulb. You'll see. He just has his wires. He plugs it right in. It's not plugged into a wall or anything. You can scroll back if you need to relook at it. This is just sitting on a table. And he harnesses the ether, and it's lighting up right there. So why are we paying for gas? Why are we paying for electricity from the electric grid again, when you can just make this on a large scale to power your house, power your car? Why are we paying that? And the reason why they're not going to make this en masse is because it would collapse trillion-dollar industries. It would make you have more money. You would have more money in your pockets. The Tartarians used that. The Tartarian structures with those antenna coils or the antennas at the top of those buildings that harnessed the ether. There was free, clean energy everywhere. They can't charge you for air, so that's why they want you to rely on fuel, rely on the power grid, so they can keep you under control. What do you guys think? What else do you think the government is hiding that would benefit all of us? And if you like this type of content, go ahead and like, comment, and share, and follow for more.
Yeah, leave your comments. What else is the government hiding? I mean, obviously there's a massive conversation about aliens at the moment. Other entities being down here. Is that being hidden? What do you think? Are they hiding that they're vampires and all this other stuff? Who knows? But they are definitely hiding free energy. Again, as we saw in that clip, Wardenclyffe, right? Tesla created free energy, which, you know, also it had a big dome on the top, right? It's reminiscent of the Tartarian tech we see, but that was made until they found out it was going to give free wireless energy to people, so they knocked it over, right, and destroyed it. But this knowledge has been around for a long time. We've had, you know, there's a myriad of people, inventors that have come out with, you know, devices that will give us free energy, and of course, every time, right, they get silenced in one way or another, and all of their research and everything tech gets stolen and hidden away until they can, turn it into something that will control us, like electric cars. We had electric cars in 1900, and what, they just got rid of them because it was free energy, right? And 100 years later, they gave us the Teslas. A car that is literally a moving surveillance tool. That's all it is, right? Perfect for 15-minute cities. And do let me know, have you made one of these free energy devices? I would love to hear. Leave it in the comments. What have you done? Because it's probably a very good time, right, to start collecting things like old speakers, because they have big magnets on them, and copper, other bits and pieces. And let's start constructing these machines, these devices. But definitely let me know, have you built one thus far?
Wake up, gods! This is proof that our ancestors left us ancient advanced technology. This is proof that our world used to light up like the Avatar movie. No generators, no batteries, no wires, no electric company. These people found a statue that creates its own light source. And look at the markings on this statue. Literally an alien carving on the back of the sculpture. They like, what the hell? Through the minerals in the rock, and also the crystals and the symbolism, also there's copper wire inside of the statue. They even tested the energy level of this statue, and it was giving off energy signals. Look at those third eye markings. They put the reader on the hat, and the hat is giving off the most electricity. And there's copper wire inside the hat. Our bodies are made from the same minerals and metals that this statue has. This represents the power and the ether we have in our body. There's crystals in your eyes, crystals in your blood, crystals in your teeth, crystals in your bones, crystals in your fingernail. This is us.
Wow, this is us. We are batteries, right? But not the kind from the Matrix that they love to turn us into. But yeah, we are our own energy source, right? And of course, we get charged, we get recharged by the natural world, nature, grounding yourself, sun gazing, right? Being out in nature, hugging a tree. This is what charges us, not the 2D world that we are currently both on, right? This is, to me, this is the simulation they want to drag us into, the false light, right? The false light of electricity, right? The Lites love it. And this is where we are at the moment, right? We're choosing which way we're going to go. We are at a fork in the roads. And I've said it before, the internet is eating itself. It is fastly becoming irrelevant, especially with all the bots on there, all the AI. We can't tell what's real and what's not anymore. And it's just propaganda, right? Just, rolled over and over and over again. Same old crap. And it's not good for us. And even the light that comes out of it is bad for our eyes, bad for our circadian rhythms. And it makes us sit on our ass all day and do nothing, right? So definitely get out and charge yourself in nature. Have conversations with real people, right? Hug real people. Walk bare feet on the grass, on the earth, and ground yourself, which, it's interesting, it's called grounding, right? And that's because we are electric beings. We are, and we need to be grounded. That's why they brought in rubber soles, right? To put a barrier there, right? To insulate us from the earth, from our power source. And of course, the sole is on the bottom of your foot, as is your heel. Want to heal your soul? Go for a walk barefoot on the earth. But yeah, like totally digressing, right? That was a pretty interesting little lamp. I wonder what was inside it. I'd like to know. All the carvings and stuff, not sure. Is this where they got information? Some kind of channeled entity or entities that came down and gave us info? Because there's a lot of stories in antiquity that talk about, gods, small g, coming down and giving us, information on technology and how to do things. I don't know, but please let me know your thoughts on that. And we've come to the end, guys. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. Please do give me a like, share this around, hype it up, all that good stuff. And of course, if you're not subscribed, What the bloody hell are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. We're actually getting very close to 40,000 subscribers. It's 39,970 or 80 at the moment. So yes, let's do it. Let's get over 40,000. And thank you for spending some time with me. Please do leave me all your thoughts. What do you think is going on? And what are the solutions? And what have you done as far as free energy? I'd love to hear. And most importantly, stay awesome because you are. And I'll talk to you on the next upload. Bye for now.
Everything he does is impressive.
Higher volume of tests. When you go back to the manufacturer,
No. No.
No, don't touch. Don't touch. Don't touch.